Today on Sports Central, we'll be over our next team projection of this offseason, and it's going to be over the Iowa State Cyclones, a team that finished out the 2020 season at 9-3 overall. This team really had an outstanding 2020 season as they were one of the best teams in the Big 12, but I could see this team being even better going into the 2021 season, and why that is what we're going over here today. We're also going to be over a few players that this team will be losing, who they're returning, and also looking at their schedule for the first time this offseason, starting out with the previous 6 games for Iowa State. And this team really, down the stretch, they were outstanding. This team beat Baylor 38-31, but I mean, look at that Kansas State game, though. They shut out Kansas State 45-0. Very impressive shutout there out of Iowa State. I mean, Kansas State obviously was completely sliding at that point of the season last year, but that team did beat Oklahoma previously in the year, so they were a pretty good team at some point in the 2020 season. So overall for the Cyclones, that was a good win for them, being able to shut out K-State. They did beat Texas as well on the road, 23-20. They beat West Virginia 42-6. They did lose to Oklahoma, however, in the Big 12 championship game, but then again, that was a brutal matchup against a great team. 21-27 was their final score there, which, I mean, considering Iowa State did beat Oklahoma earlier in the season, that's not a terrible loss. I mean, this Iowa State team could have easily been on their way to a New Year's Six bowl game for sure, but also, I mean, you could argue a college football playoff appearance. So really, this team really was very impressive. Obviously, they were 4-2 in their first 6 games, so they probably wouldn't have made it to the college football playoff, but this team would have been ranked very highly if they beat Oklahoma in that Big 12 championship game. However, they did beat Oregon 34-17 in their bowl game, which was an impressive win there for sure to finish out your season. Iowa State is a team that's got a ton of momentum going into the 2021 season, and this team has got a ton of potential as well. And just looking at the roster preview here and the returning production in general, like, this team has got a ton of upside going into next year. I mean, you return your starting quarterback Brock Purdy, which is already a huge return there. Last season, he was an outstanding player, put up over 2,700 yards, as well as 19 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Also put up a 67% completion rate, which is actually a pretty good completion rate, especially for a quarterback like him. As for the running back position, you got a huge standout there in Breece Hall. Breece Hall is criminally underrated, I think, in my opinion. Like, I've seen some polls and some lists where he's actually not even listed at the top 5 for running backs last season and running backs going into 2021. Like, he's going to be a top 3 running back in the nation next season. He's going to be an outstanding draft pick in next season's NFL draft. I mean, just looking at his stats, they explain themselves. He put up over 1,800 yards, or nearly 1,800 yards, as well as 23 total touchdowns last year. So the potential that he has is already good enough for me to say that he's going to be a top running back, if not the best, in the Big 12 next season. I mean, this is a running back who put up 1,800 yards in the COVID season as well. I think that's the lead for the entire nation last year. But anyway, looking at your receiving core, you do return your top wide receiver, Xavier Hutchinson. He's coming back. Last season, he put up just over 750 yards, 4 touchdowns. That's going to be a huge return for Brock Purdy in general. Same thing with Charlie Kolar. He's also coming back. He's their top tight end. Last season, he put up just over 590 yards and 7 touchdowns as well. So you got 2 great receivers coming back, 2 great weapons there for Brock Purdy. You do lose your second wide receiver there in Landon Akers. He's going to be the main loss in this receiving core. He put up just right around 270 yards and a touchdown last year. So he didn't have a big impact, nowhere near as big of an impact that Xavier Hutchinson did. But anyway, that's still going to be a loss there. But you do return your second tight end in Chase Allen. He was 4th in receiving on this team last season with just right around 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. As for your defensive line, you lose 1 on there, you lose 1 in the secondary. This offensive line isn't losing anything. This team has got potential. Like, I'm talking huge. I mean, if you look at their defense, like, they're only losing 2 starters on the defensive side. This team is really looking good going into next season. And if Oklahoma, it just sucks for Iowa State that they got to get through Oklahoma. I mean, Oklahoma next season is going to be easily college football playoff contender. I think the Sooners could actually win the title next season. That's how good I expect them to be. But for Iowa State, I mean, that's just the luck of the draw for them. I mean, this team has got to get through Oklahoma, which is going to be really tough. Like, Oklahoma and Iowa State, both in general, I think will be completely running the Big 12 Conference next season. It's just Oklahoma with Spencer Rattler. I can't go against them right now. But chances of a Big 12 championship, I definitely think Iowa State's going to be right back in it. But odds of them winning it, I'd say are I mean, they're moderate. I don't think that they've got a great chance just because of Oklahoma. But if Oklahoma wasn't in the conference, it's Iowa State's conference next season. Like, this is a team that's got such great returning production, but at the same time, Oklahoma's got just almost better returning production going into next season. So that's the main team that's going to be your competitor next season for sure, is the Oklahoma Sooners, which, I mean, I hate to say it, and I'm sure it's bad for it just sucks for you guys to hear that, but it is very true. Oklahoma's going to be a very good team next season. But are the Cyclones a college football playoff dark horse? Yes. If this team can get past Oklahoma, they totally are. Like, this team, if they can go like 12-1 through the regular season and the in the Big 12 championship, I still think this team has got potential to be in the college football playoff. But anyway, I think this team easily could go undefeated if they can beat Oklahoma next season, in the regular season at least. But looking at your schedule, I mean, you do have a kind of a tough schedule in general. You do have to play Northern Iowa. That's going to be an easy win. Iowa could be a tough game. The Hawkeyes are going to be good next season. That should be a fun matchup. It is in Ames, so that is going to come to an advantage there. But Iowa's going to be a tough team next season. That's actually going to be one of your tougher games, I'd say, in your schedule next year. You do have UNLV on the road then in Vegas. You got Baylor then on the road. You got Kansas to start off your October, Kansas State after your bye week, and that's going to be on the road as well. You got Oklahoma State then. After that, West Virginia finish out October. As for November, you got Texas, Texas Tech, Oklahoma. Your brutal game there against Oklahoma. That's going to be a huge X factor this season on the road there in Norman. Then you got TCU to finish out your season on the 27th. So anyway, that being said, let's look at the first half of your schedule here. I could easily see this team going undefeated for sure through the first 6 games. Like, honestly, you've got Oklahoma still late in the season. I could see this team starting out the season 10-0. Like, this team could easily be 10-0 next season going into that Oklahoma game. But anyway, as for the first half, I'd say Iowa's going to be a close game. Kansas State's going to be a close game. Otherwise, this team definitely should have 5 to 6 wins by the time we hit the late parts of October. As for the second half here, you got Oklahoma State, of course. That's going to be a close one. West Virginia, I probably could put that as a greater than 80% game, honestly. Just the only reason why I put it in yellows was because it was on the road, but that should be a win for Iowa State. Texas, then, that's also going to be a yellow game. Texas Tech's going to be a win. Oklahoma's going to be a close one. TCU also, watch out for them. TCU could be a top 5, top 4 team in the conference next season. They've got great returning production and also a lot of potential there. So TCU could come to be a tough team as well. Don't forget about them at the end of the season. Ceiling for the Cyclones will be 11-1 next year. Honestly, I was that close to putting 12-0. Trust me, I was extremely close to putting 12-0. But I just feel like this team is prone to slip up at some point this season. I think Oklahoma, I mean, I don't know that you'll beat Oklahoma. And even if you do beat Oklahoma, like, this team, I think, will take a loss at some point in the season. So this team could go 12-0. I'm not ruling that out, but I think the ceiling is reasonable to say this team will be 11-1, which, if you're an Iowa State fan, I think 11-1 sounds pretty good. But projection will be 10-2 for Iowa State. This team, I think, 2 losses is, I think you're going to lose to Oklahoma. I will say that right now. With it being on the road, it might be a night game. I just don't see Iowa State winning that matchup. I mean, Oklahoma is just such a great team at home, and Spencer Rattler is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the nation next season, only in his second season at Oklahoma. So the Sooners next season are going to be a powerhouse, I'd say, in the Big 12. So that's going to be a tough game there. I think you might slip up in some sort of game. Like, you got Iowa, that could be a tough one there. Oklahoma State's going to be tough. Texas in general is going to be pretty tough, TCU. So 10-2 is going to be a projection. I think that sounds pretty good if you're an Iowa State fan. But the floor, 8-4. That's basically the bare minimum of where Iowa State could be next season. But anyway, that wraps up for here today. Iowa State is definitely a team to watch out for into the future. This team is definitely, Matt Campbell, I don't know what he's doing in Iowa State, but, this team is outstanding right now. Like, he's bringing in some great recruiting. This team is going to be really good for many years to come, I think. Iowa State, this is not a one-and-done situation. This team is for real, and I think we're going to see that in the future. But anyway, wraps it up for today. Let me know your thoughts on Iowa State in the comments below. Record predictions, all of that down in the comments. I appreciate you guys all watching, though. If you enjoyed the video, slap a like on it, subscribe as well. As it really helps to the channel, and I really appreciate that. But once again, stay tuned for more. I'll see you guys all later.